I think that was probably like. It's like shooting two birds flags. Great.
Started here. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. Just a couple of announcements from the York County History Center before we get started. The York County History Center museums and library are currently closed to prepare for moving. The new History Center steam plant will be open to the public in July. And we'll have open house events for members in late June. We will continue to hold programs like this one here in the meeting hall until the new building is open. And for updates and more information, you can go to our website at yorkhistorycenter.org. Some upcoming programs on Sunday, March 3rd, the South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society will be meeting, and the speaker will be Lisa Wolfson. Thursday, March 7th, is Writers Roundtable with John Cromer on camp security and archaeology. Second Saturday, March 9th, we'll have April Thomas. That'll be on tavern dining in Britain and America. Wednesday, March 20th, we'll have Writers Roundtable with Scott Mingus on the role of railroads in Gettysburg. And our speaker tonight is Ray Brown, who served in the Army in Operation Freedom in Iraq. So please welcome Ray.
All right, well, thanks for having me today, but I'm extremely nervous right now, so bear with me. But I want to read this poem that I wrote to try and break the ice a little bit. I'm just gonna go with it. Like I said, my name is Ray Brown. I grew up right here in New York City, Pennsylvania, West College Avenue. Grew up, my mom right here, this Kelly Hill right here. My superhero that pushed me through a lot of stuff when I was growing up. Like, it was just me, her, and my little brother. So growing up it wasn't hard, but it wasn't easy. But she always taught me to fight and keep pushing. I went to York High, graduated class in '99. And when I was in school, I was a lazy student. Like, I did like the bare minimum just to graduate. It was crazy because once I joined the Army, I was a totally different student. But I did the bare minimum to graduate high school. I had my first child my senior year in high school. So it automatically made me think of how I'm gonna live life a little differently, what I need to do. My grandfather was a Korean vet, and when I told him, he just said, "You know what you gotta do." It wasn't no lecture or nothing. He just told me as a man, I know what I had to do. So my initial thought was to join the Air Force. If you look at my senior block, it even says I'm gonna go to the Air Force and take care of my family. But then when I went to these different meetings, certain recruiters would show up and stuff like that. But maybe thinking of the Army, my best friend joined. What really started it, I was going to church one day with the mother of my oldest kids. My father arrived by and he starts laughing at me. He's like, "I talked to your grandma." I'm like, "Not my grandma, I don't know what you're talking about." But come to find out, that's how I found out she was pregnant with my son. So when I found out then, I was like, okay, I gotta do something. I went immediately. I don't even think I said anything to my mom at first. I just talked to a recruiter. And I came home and said, "Getting married December 1st, and I'm leaving in January for the Army." Because I knew that was the only way. I was working at the Lighthouse Youth Center, which I loved that job, along with another one of my family members, Brother Sean back there. But it just wasn't enough to really carry on the family. I wasn't making enough money to support my family. I didn't want to struggle, and the Army seemed good. It looked good. at that time. It looked amazing. Like, you know how when you come in here, they tell you, hey, we're gonna get you this, we're gonna get you that. You get free medical, you get free money, this, and money's not free at all. I think because what you go through is crazy. So they, I went and talked to them, my best friend came back, what's called Exodus or whatever, prison basic. We was running around, he had me doing some crazy PT stuff that you're doing basic training as. When you hear the exercises, laugh at them like, that's a piece of cake. I can do that without nothing, but you actually doing it. So I left for the Army January, I believe it was the 18th or the 17th, but then flying all that, and I showed up the basic training on January 19th. Basic training, a lot of people say, oh, it was fun. I want to go through it again. I don't know who that is, because I definitely didn't want to go through it again. It definitely taught me certain things, and I didn't hate it, because it taught me how to be more self-independent, taught me how to be more of a man, taught me how to handle my emotions a little more, or hide them, you might say. This is the first time I've ever talked about this, so it's a little, but anyways, I finished basic and I showed it before the Texas. No, Fort Gordon, Georgia, that's where I did my AIT in my school. I was in AIT for 7 months. After the 7 months, I finished, came home for my, so what they call it, HTRAC, hometown recruiting. They did here in the city. I didn't get not one single soldier interested to join or nothing. So they ended up usually about to send me to my unit early, because I don't know if people didn't want to hear that about the Army. So I went down to Fort Hood, Texas, and I was there. I got there in 2001, August. And I believe that year was that September 11th? That year, September 11th happened. And like me, being city boy, I don't know nothing about the military yet. This is brand new to me. They come knocking on my door after the plane hits, talking about, hey, they just hit the tower, you need to suit up. Me, when they said suit up, I didn't know they just meant just put on our uniform. So I put on my uniform, I had on my flat vest, I had on my Kevlar, my mop gear, everything you possibly think of. And then I'm like, yo, I don't got no weapon. No weapon at all. And I'm running around and I'm snapping because I didn't know, and that completely changed how my whole military career was gonna go. Because the following, that couldn't have been just the next year, I think 2003, that's when I made my first deployment to Iraq. We were stationed in Adwar, which is about 20 miles, I believe, south of the crib where Saddam's actual home was at. And that's where I first witnessed what it felt like to lose one of your battle buddies at war. You know, especially as area, he just had a baby. And Sergeant White. And when I lost him, it made me feel something in me. Instead of just feeling all the grief and just being sad, I channeled into a bunch of anger. And with the anger, when I would go on patrols and stuff, it was real hard for me just to ride around and do a patrol and actually see the Iraqis as people and not threats. They all just became threats. No matter what, some would come up to us, they would help us out. And I would just still be a jerk because I just didn't know how to take it in. So after my first deployment, we come home, that's when I was going through some stuff with my ex-wife, and we ended up splitting about it. I don't even go into detail there, we got a good relationship now. Great co-parents for our kids. That's all that really matters to me right now. So that's when I really started to get depressed, because I was in Texas by myself, being from York and living in Texas. It's a big difference. So I started just doing everything. I started drinking. In the military, I know we drink a lot, but there was times where I abused the alcohol. Like I was drinking almost a fifth of Henny or a fifth or whatever every couple of days, just to try and keep myself sedated so that I wouldn't lash out. I was in the military, I was still doing other like popping pills and stuff, because I just didn't know how to deal with that grief, because it wasn't no anger to let it out. In Iraq, I could just let all that out over here. I can let that out back here. Then there's even times where I've attempted suicide, but it didn't go through. And when I say attempted, I literally put a firearm to my head and pulled the trigger twice. And it wouldn't go off. And I put it out a window and it went off. So immediately I found a church down there. Because I grew up in church, grew up Zion, playing organ, all that stuff. Like, so I went to a church and I talked to a pastor there. And for that moment, I was cool. Then I got deployed again. Same thing happened, more death. It seemed like the deployments, like when we talk, it just hide our emotions. I have a tattoo on my back of a soldier with a blank face and a tear because there's still time. Like a soldier, they tell us, or we gotta hide our emotions around certain things because it looks like a weakness. Just all types of stuff. And where they put me on antidepressant pills, I was in Iraq. They even took my weapon at one point, wouldn't let me carry a weapon in Iraq. That didn't last long. I kept complaining about that because I just didn't feel comfortable. And I came home from that deployment and it was the same thing. Just more alcohol, more alcohol, more alcohol. Smoking marijuana when I wasn't supposed to be smoking. Started getting in trouble, started losing rank. Because I just couldn't control internally the emotions. And then it'd be something real simple, and I would blow up. Third deployment, same thing. Just death. A friend of mine, Sergeant Hoover, was supposed to be home. He got stop loss. The day before he left, the next day he was killed. And I actually watched his body go from pink to blue. I saw him take his last breath. And that right there, that was it. I was like, I don't think I could do the military. And I was a good soldier. I was the best combat custodian in the unit. I was in charge of the PSD from a sergeant major. But I just couldn't do it. I got into a fight with my first sergeant. I ended up losing almost all my rank. So I was down to an E2 with 8-9 years of service, and I was an E2. I came home, did that last little year or so in the military. I got out. I actually got out. That's when everything just went. Every single emotion was coming out. Drinking, already ruining relationships with friends, family, people that want to be there for me, but I'm pushing them away because I didn't think I had any type of problem. I just felt as though like they don't understand. I was deployed. They got to deal with it. I mean, I almost ruined relationship with my children because of me not acknowledging when I was born. It would be nights when I would just drive to the Gold Star Park and just sit there for hours, even in the rain. My sister Brittany came out there a few times to check on me when she found out I was there. But the Gold Star gave me a sense of peace. Being over there, just around all the, I don't know if it's because of just there's a whole bunch of names of fallen soldiers and stuff. I just felt comfortable, like that could be me. Sometimes I wonder why it wasn't survivors. Why am I here? And they never left. Part of me still stayed over. Like, it's crazy when I say I can find peace in chaos. I know other vets that they can understand that to an extent. Like when I was in Iraq, I had more peace within myself than I had out here. So I came back, I went back to the Lighthouse Youth Center. Because around kids, I just have the most patience. I have no patience at all. Real children have a lot of patience. I went back there and I worked there for a while, but it still wasn't something I wanted to do. It's just I worked at plenty of factories. I kept getting points and getting sent home because some days I just didn't want to be there. It's like I'm not feeling this. my supervisor say one thing, and I'm thinking about really taking his head off, like really hurting him over something simple that honestly I should have just said, all right, I got you. I need to go do this. So then I found out about barbering. But I ran into Patrick Winter at a party for a birthday party for somebody I knew. And the way he explained barbering and passion he had, I wanted to be that passionate about something like that. Like that's how I was with the Army. I was passionate. I'm one of them guys who see me, most people my age don't, but I walk around with veteran shirts, with veteran hats, veteran hoodies. My truck has the veteran sticker. I love being a soldier because when I was a soldier, it felt like I had purpose. Like I was doing my job, I was fighting, I was going out back, I was doing this. I had purpose. You walk around in uniform, people are always like, thank you, I appreciate you. But when you get out, just like I know a lot of the older, like the Vietnam vets and stuff, it's like people forget about you. They forget about what you did. And I had family that was sitting and trying to tell me how proud they were. But you know, I couldn't accept it. I couldn't feel it. I could be in a room with all my family. And I know they love me, but not feel it. I feel it at all. Because I just struggle with it hard. So when I got into barbering, I started schooling like it was just a piece I found with cutting hair. It was the same piece I found with poetry, the same piece I found army. So I just kept cutting hair. And I, you know, my card said barber and taught me how to love again. And that's when I met Mr. Terry Turner. He did a story on me, a Europe media outlet, talking about it. He got me into different programs. There's a lot of programs out here that I don't know if it's not publicized enough, or sometimes the vet just doesn't look or take the initiative to really look at it with that program. And I started on equine therapy with horses. And I'm gonna tell you, equine therapy changed my life because I don't know if anybody ever worked with horses though. They did like horses mirror however you're feeling. So if I come in mad, I'm trying to get the horse to do something, the horse is gonna be mad. If I'm sad, the horse is gonna be sad, etc., etc. So it made me really, I call it looking in the mirror, made me see how people had to deal with me. Because a lot of times I was playing, everything was always playing going on. My PTSD, me being bipolar, I never really acknowledged what I was doing. I was hurting people, regardless of it was my mental situation or not, I was still hurting people. But working with horses, I see how annoying the tangents were. Yeah, and I call them tangents because sometimes I was acting like a little spoiled brat. Saying, with the equine therapy, it really brought me around that curve to get started. And I wanted to quit a lot of stuff, a lot of the therapy. I didn't want to go to my psychologist because I ran to 5 psychologists where I got the one that really worked. I was ready to give up. My wife, she's a big part. My wife's right here, Manuela, sitting back there behind me. Very big part of my fighting this fight. Alongside with the rest of my family, but somebody told you that you got a husband and a wife that's right beside you. Regardless of them flaws, and they're still right there, you have to cherish that. And it made me push through a lot of stuff. Cause like now, I barely train. If I have 3 or 4 drinks, that's too much for me. I don't want to do the recovery either afterwards, because it's gonna taste it. But I don't drink it. I'm more of a casual drinker. I have a beer or 2 here and there. I'm better with acknowledging where I was wrong. Because I woke up, I actually let people know I need help. I like to say to every veteran, because there's a lot of veterans, especially veterans my age, that they don't think they have any problems. they don't think they're going through too much, but if you ask everybody that's around them, they might have a different, different angle, or a different, statement about that.
Ray, can I ask you a question?
Yes,
So we talked a little bit about this in shop. And thank you for answering the call. So I asked Ray if he would come here and speak with us tonight. But I asked you two things. One was, you did 10 years, which means at some point you had to re-up. And why did you do that? And then the second thing was, if you were talking to young people today, would you recommend the military to those same young people despite what you went through?
my first deployment, that's when they came to me for my re-enlistment. And I was airborne. I never got to go to an airborne unit, so I re-enlisted for Fort Bragg. And plus they gave me $13,000 tax free. So that's the main reason I re-enlisted, because I just felt a little army was a better financial status for my family here. But them orders got deleted. I ended up staying there for all 9 years. But I don't regret re-enlisting at all. And if I was talking to the youth, I would tell them they don't have nothing going on. They don't have no kids. And they're lost, they don't know what to do. Join some branch of the service. Because you get in there, you get out, you get schooling, they get their medical, they're fed, they're on their own. Now they can't call their mom or their dad, like, I need help with this, they got staff sergeant so-and-so, or sergeant first class so-and-so, tell them, care about your mom and dad, and man up. I think a lot of young people, they were going to the military, even if it's for 3 or 4 years, they're gonna have a different outlook. Definitely.
How important do you think it is for young people to hear from some of our veterans?
I believe it's very important because they really don't know what we go through other than just the stuff on TV. Because you know, on TV, they're going to show you everything, so you're in support of our soldiers going over there. If they hear it, they talk about how I lost. Because I tell some of them kids that be out there just wilding out, like there's times when I'll sit right here in York and be like, I've lost more people in 2 weeks in York, PA from violence than I lost in Iraq. And a lot of youth, when I tell them that hits them, they're like, because now it really focuses on them. And they start to understand, like, you're out here walking around in a war zone with no protective vest, no nothing, just enjoying life because of how crazy we're getting out there. When we go in Iraq, we actually just up. You might not be coming home. That's the biggest scary part about it.
One of the questions I was ask you, because I'm sure you're saying same thing, is that sometimes do certain things come back to you, like flashbacks, like it took a certain time, and you remember your friends on a certain day, and you actually watch them either get killed that day, and it's like it still comes up.
It happens way more than I wish it would. My wife was out there. She even knows certain months. She can tell, even if I'm not just filing, it's just the way I respond to certain things. Cause I even watched American Sniper. That movie related to me too much. I ended up in the hospital because I was over it. I had to go sit down. That's when I first realized it. So it definitely is something I don't forget. And now I've learned not to ignore either. I have to face it. It hurts. This right here. This right here is one of them things that's doing it too, just being up here. I've been walking around and see I'm sweating like crazy. It's not even hot in here. Like, because it makes me think of, honestly, what could have I said to my battle buddy that died over there that could have stopped him? And I know there's nothing I could have done. It's the way it goes. Well, I have a question.
I have one that's still on the lighter side. You said you were working, Ray, when you enlisted. And you put your name on that line. You were working, but you wanted to support this little one that's coming along, so I understand your story. So you went into the army as a private, correct?
Yes.
How did that first paycheck look compared to what you were getting on the street?
Oh, it was more.
Really? Wow.
It was because I wanted married. Get the BAH and all that other stuff, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't until I think it was the jump from E3 to E4. That's when I was like, oh wow, this is more money now. But medically, my children were taken care of. So I looked at it more on that side, like the medical bills, like the births. I didn't pay for the births. Army took care of all of that. They had their medical updates, they had to go to doctors. The Army took care of all that. So it kind of balanced out. That check definitely wasn't like the way, I didn't get a sign on this either. The way the recruiter made it sound, I'm living it up. All that money bills. Yes. But that's pretty much my story.
One more thing. As you told your story, Ray, and you're looking back on it, the negative things, and then there were a lot of negatives, we all experience that, veterans, and positive things, and a lot of good things that happened that you brought along with you. Looking back, Ray, would you do it again?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Without a doubt.
What about your family experience? I think you said you come from somewhat of a military background?
Yes, my uncle, Army veteran, so was my grandfather, Robert Liggins, he was, it was part of my granddad was another superhero for me too, so that was another thing in the military, it's like, I definitely would, like, it wouldn't change nothing. Without the military, I was a big follower when I was younger. A lot of my own boys were just, doing whatever they was doing out of the private and right with them. Military.
Just to follow up on that, you would do it again, but what would you do different?
I know there would be some changes I would have to do, because my problems that I had in the Army when I started getting in trouble was more with me emotionally. Because I was, like I said, I was a good soldier, I did my job, I respected NCOs. Just after so much stuff started happening, I would have asked for help earlier. That's what I'd asked for. As soon as I knew I was struggling, I'd asked for break. That's what I did.
Before you left York, had you experienced law?
Yes.
Okay.
Lost a couple of friends.
But still hadn't had a chance to deal with that.
But even during my deployments, I lost one deployment, I lost my grandfather, grandma, and a good friend of mine's both out, all in about 4.5 weeks. So I started associating that with just military service.
And I think you told me that's when they took your weapon. You had those lost all at the same time and they could see that something was wrong.
That's me too.
But they couldn't send you home.
Try to think, they are, sure would be all right, but they had to think. Shut me down.
Do you think the military would benefit from having some sort of like emotional, some classes or something like during, you know,
It's just when we get back, they do what's it called, debrief. But it's nothing intense. Now, if you ask for it, they do it, I'm pretty sure now, I've been out of the military now 14 years. So I'm pretty sure by now they got more classes and stuff for these soldiers. Cause when I was getting out, they were just stamping me with PTSD and sending me away. So then they, I don't know if it was a way of saying like, okay, this person might be a trigger, it might not. So they just stamp PTSD up there. Put them in the classes. Sometimes it's not even classes, it's just being around other vets and just sitting and talking. Because sometimes it's the camaraderie. Because the one thing I did love about being deployed, you build a bond with you that you're not gonna find anywhere else. I'm not saying it's better, but it's just a different bond. Get with the people that you're over there sleeping in the dirt, doing all this other, watching each other six. Just learn they becoming brothers and sisters because you don't have family. Your family is your unit, your family is your squad.
Saying to piggyback on what you were saying is that I go through PTSD counseling very heavily. I do one-on-one, then I do group set. And I really like the group set. I get to understand everybody, feel for it. Because we all experience the same thing, and one of the big things too, and that also like before like military should start doing that intense stuff before they get out, because they get deployed. You know, I never knew I had PTSD until I started getting stressed out about things. That things started hitting me like crazy. And so these soldiers would say, or the doctor said, "Oh, you're good, it's good." And when they come home, it's like, wait a minute, it's a big difference. You say it was good, but you're really not.
Sure.
And like you said, one of the big things that we share is more camaraderie. So when we're over there, we don't forget about family at home, but over there we build a family. And it's a strong bond that nobody can take away from me. And that's for a long time I've tried to hide it and forget it, but I can't. Because those are my brothers and mom. And when I stand with you, I see these young kids today, they're out here that is being crazy, but being over there, I see them young kids over there versus over here, learning how to do things. Learning how to do things and becoming more intelligent and being evil and not trying. And it's just crazy. And so, you know, I had talked to you as well.
That's one of the main reasons I wanted. Because when she first asked me about it, I was like, yeah. And started thinking like, oh man, I get talking about stuff I've shared with family and friends. But not in front of them, just like some people as a speaker.
What made you say yes?
Uh,
What made you say yes? You were just ready? I didn't.
I'm still not reading right now. Notice though, somebody has to speak up and say something. And if I can get up here and speak, and I can talk about my stories and my struggles, hopefully it'll help somebody else come forward. Somebody else, even if they don't come forward in public, they can, when they're on, go talk to somebody about it. Because they have to talk to somebody, or you're gonna turn into a bomb. Eventually, they're gonna explode. Like my thing, I would explode on the people closest.
So can I talk a little bit about your successes and why I felt like it would be great to be here?
Sure.
And I don't know Ray very well. I know his family, and I see some of you here, you know, but just from a distance. You've been consistent. I see the way you pour yourself around your family. Ray has a family member that has Down syndrome, and I have a son that has Down syndrome. And when it's Special Olympics time, including getting in the cold water, who's gonna be one of the first people in? That man. You know, and just the way that he has openly loved on his family. And then I come into the shop and I hear the way you speak to young people as you're cutting hair. All of those tidbits of knowledge, little by little, drip by drip, you pour into them. And I said, you have something to give. I believe in you. And you're doing an excellent job.
I just want to read this poem. It's called the poem, Deployment Struggles. You see me smiling, but inside I'm crying. My story could be sad, but others could be even more depressing. Living life hiding, steadily questioning why I was not successful when I pulled that trigger. Didn't overdose on those pills or crash my car from drinking way too much liquor. I had friends die from suicide. Friends die from IEDs. When I stare in the mirror, the last person I see is me. My eyes tell a story of a man that is lost in his own mind. A battle within and fears that he would lose in time. It's not good popping pills and becoming sedated. Because when you're all alone, you sit there wondering why did they die and how I made it. Can't find a happy place, so you try to create it, but I'm a soldier. I can't wear my feelings on my sleeve. The tears I shed are hidden, but inside my heart screams. Specialist Ariada just had a baby. But for me to feel the pain of a youngin' not having his father is considered crazy. Sergeant First Class Wallace was a great NCO and made you put forth your best. So I see myself saluting, listening to Tack while he was laid to rest. Sergeant Cooper was stop loss, told he could not go home. He takes sniper fire. I drive as fast as I could. My first aid was performed, but he was already gone. This is more than just stories, more than just memories. It's pain trapped in a mindset that fuels rage for the enemy. My own anger has me worried to where it is sending me. It could mainly be the ending. Now that's an old poem. That's not how I feel now. I just wanted to read it because that's where I came from. And a lot of other veterans, or anybody that's just struggling with something, it can be beaten. You'll never forget it. It's always going to be in the back of our heads. Always. But if you never step up, you never will find out.
What I have to say is, that's my son, and when I sent him to well, not I sent him, when he went to the military, I was like, yeah, they're going to be a man, he's gonna be tough. But what they taught him was how not to show emotion, not to be himself anymore. And when he came home, I didn't understand PTSD. And I was a little impatient with him until the one time he called me and I had to take him to get help. People need to research PTSD. They need to know what our veterans go through day in and day out. It might not show, you know, my son knows everybody in York. And when he walks down the street, he's waving, hey, hey, hey. But I know him and I know what he's feeling inside. And even when he tries to hide it from me, I know. And we need to do and take more time with veterans. Don't let them flounder. Be there, be what you can. Research it, because it took me researching it to know not what he's going through, but to know when he's going through.
I'm a Vietnam veteran, and there's several other Vietnam veterans here, and some of you younger veterans here. Want to extend to you and to them, welcome home.
Anybody knows any veterans? They don't wanna talk to nobody. I have my barber card with me, but you can take my card and give it to them. They might not wanna talk to me. I know a bunch of other people that's ready to go to war, literally, to make sure you get the stuff that you need, what they need. You help out. Again, I thank y'all for having me. I think I'm soaking wet under this sweater. Definitely was hard, but it definitely feels good at the same time. Thank you for the encouraging words. Just remember, you see a veteran, try to encourage them too. That's all I have.
And the words of my manager was about to say, first striking, Eric saw. My hats off to the